Um, I'm gonna be showing you a scary story that a girl said.
I grew up in a haunted house, and this thing followed us no matter where we went. So I told y'all in the last video about my grandma's house being haunted. Well, when I was a few years old in the late 80s, my parents finally got their own place. I wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and I have to pee. And weirdly enough, in this house, I wasn't scared like I was at grandma's. So I take off and go to the bathroom, no problem. So I'm sitting on the toilet trying to pee, and I start hearing some kind of scratching noise outside the bathroom door. And that's when a big thunder hit, boom. So I jump up off the toilet, run back to my bedroom, hiding under the covers. It was after I jumped on the bed that I realized I left the bedroom door open. So now I could see straight down that dark hallway. My little 5-year-old brain decides I'm gonna be Billy Badass tonight, and I'm gonna get up and shut that bedroom door by myself, and I'm not gonna wake my sister up. I'm not gonna let this thing push me around like it did at grandma's. I'm gonna stand up to it now. That was a big mistake. So I walk up to the bedroom door, my shoulders bowed up and my chest out. I grabbed a handle, and as I'm shutting it, I see something standing at the end of the hallway. Now at first I thought it was my sister, so I'm like, Blank, is that you? But then when I turn around, she's laying in bed. I'm like, well, if that's her, then whose eyes are those? That was where I saw my Pee Wee Herman doll standing at the end of the hallway. I had been looking for this doll all day. It was my favorite, most prized possession as a child. I loved Pee Wee's Playhouse. I slept with this doll every night, and I was so glad I found it. But not after this. So I start trotting down the hallway thinking, oh, there's my Pee Wee Herman doll. I'm just gonna go grab it and then run back to bed. Y'all, that Pee Wee Herman doll stood up and took off running at me. And as I backed up towards the door, it started growing in size until its head touched the ceiling. That thing's face started stretching out away from its head. The eyes were getting bigger. Its nose was stretching out real pointy. It had big teeth, and its smile was touching each ear. It was so tall, it was slumped over, and its head was still hitting the ceiling, and its shoulders were touching each wall. Straight up nightmare fuel. I pissed my pants, slammed the bedroom door shut, jumped into my bed, and hid under the covers. I started crying because I couldn't understand, why would my Pee Wee doll do this to me? I love it so much. That doll sat outside our bedroom door all night long saying, ha, Pee Wee's Playhouse. And what was so creepy was every time it said a line, that line would start to drag. You know how when the batteries die and it sounds like it's talking in slow motion? That's what it was doing. I couldn't determine whether this was real or a dream, so I started trying to wake myself up. Next morning, I wake up scared, but I realized it was just a nightmare, thank God. But when I get up out of bed, I smell pee, and that's because I was still wearing the pants I peed in the night before. And when I opened our bedroom door, that little Pee Wee Herman pull-string doll was sitting up against the door. So I snatched that Pee Wee doll up, and I go throw it in the trash so my parents can't see because I knew they had spent some money on this doll. We were dirt poor, but I threw it in the trash anyways because it scared me so bad. 3 days later, I find Pee Wee sitting on my bed. My mom found it in the trash, cleaned it up, and brought it back because she thought I accidentally threw it away. My mama ended up throwing that doll away a few months later because she swore it kept talking to itself while we were at school, and it scared the hell out of her. Mama said she started having nightmares that doll was chasing her down a hallway. Now that would make a damn good horror movie. I grew up in a haunted house, and this thing followed us no matter.
Okay, I'm gonna try to find one of her other stories, okay?
My grandma's house was extremely haunted. I don't know what happened on that land or in her house that made it so active, but that place was flooded with spirits. This was the kind of place that you did not want to stay overnight. It was bad enough being there during the day. My whole family had a lot of bad experiences in that house, but I always felt one of the scariest things that ever happened to me while babysitting. Story time. Now, I was 15. I've been babysitting for a few years at this point, so I had a lot of experience with kids. They loved me. Well, a family friend asked if I would go babysit their 7-year-old son for a couple of days while they went out of town to Myrtle Beach, so I said, sure, that was great money for me. So the parents put their bags in the car. They showed me where everything is. Now, his mom made it clear to me that he has a very active imagination and that because his daddy let him watch horror movies the week prior, he's been having nightmares and making things up, saying that he's been seeing stuff around the house that's not there. So they get their stuff in the car, they give their son a kiss, and they leave. So I'm flipping through all the satellite channels, checking out different shows, eating popcorn, little boy's playing with his toys, drinking his little juicy juice, and we're just having a good time. So I go in the kitchen to put a frozen pizza in the oven, and all of a sudden, this little boy comes flying out the living room, running up to me, and then wraps around my leg, just looking in the living room and then looking at me, back and forth. I said, damn, son, are you okay? What happened? He said, she's in there. She's in there. I said, who's in there? He said, her, but I didn't see nothing. And before I can push him any further, he walks over and sits in front of the TV and starts ignoring me. We're sitting on the couch watching TV, and their couch was in the middle of the room, so you could walk around it. But this little boy starts looking behind the couch and then back at the TV. So I start looking back behind us. It's like a natural reaction when you see somebody else doing that, you start doing it. The more he did this, the more I felt like somebody was standing behind us, but I don't see anything. So I get up and walk across the room, and from there I can see the hallway. And for a second, something stood out to me. At the end of the hallway, it looked like someone was peeking around the corner like this. But when I cut the light on, it was gone. So I thought my mom was playing tricks on me. My anxiety's peaking, so I'm like, okay, it's the first time you've been left alone in someone else's house. Calm down, go take a shower and go to bed. But while I'm taking a shower, I get the weirdest feeling like somebody's standing outside of the shower curtain. Now, they had a big-ass bathroom. So I was like, dude, it's a new place. It's a big bathroom. You're not used to this. Just stop freaking out. But I have to keep sticking my head out the shower curtain to make sure nobody's there because I'm getting that vibe like somebody is there. So I peek out the shower again and bam, this kid is standing in the doorway crying. I said, what's wrong? He said, it's gonna get me. It's in there. I just saw it. Can I stay here with you? I'm scared. I said, yes, stay right there. Just turn the other way. And then I dry off and get dressed in the shower so he can't see me. Now it's about 11 o'clock at this point and he's still wide awake. So we sit there and talk for a little while. We play with Legos, Play-Doh. I'm just trying to wear him out so he'll go to sleep. Well, finally around 2 a.m., he falls asleep. Now, it was already so late, I didn't have time to unpack my clothes, so I just get in the bed and I go to sleep. About 10 minutes later, I hear this youngin' screaming again. Before I can even get out of the bed, I hear him thunk, 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 and he's already running into my room, jumps into bed with me. He's screaming to the top of his lungs, she's there in my room, behind the door. She's gonna get me if I'm alone. Please don't make me go back in there. So we're laying there in the bed together, and he says, I know you think I'm making stuff up. I promise you I'm not. She was there. I saw her. I said, honey, I believe you. It's okay. Just relax and close your eyes and start taking some deep breaths. This child has one hell of a grip on me. Like, he's wrapped around me like a python, so I could tell he was really scared. Like, he really thought something was going to snatch his ass off that bed. So I just held him and hoped that maybe he would calm down. Now, I know a lot of you would just tell these kids to hush and go to bed, but I'm not like that. I went through the same thing as a child. I would see things that were not there, and nobody else believed me. So I wanted him to know that I believed him and I was protecting him. So I reach over to the nightstand and I tapped that old school touch lamp 3 times and put it on the brightest setting so it lit up the room. That way we would feel more safer and we'd get some sleep. Then I start hearing some distant thunder and then it starts pouring rain. I think, oh, well, that sounds relaxing. So because of that storm, my ass knocked out. I was doing some good sleeping until about 30-40 minutes later. That was when I abruptly woke up to the bed shaking. It felt like a small tremor, like a little earthquake. So I'm trying to get my eyes adjusted and wake up and figure out why is the bed shaking. Apparently the storm knocked the power out because it was pitch black dark in that room and the only time I could see anything was when the lightning struck. Well, once my head gets adjusted, I start hearing a noise like chattering of teeth. I'm laying there trying to figure out what the hell is that noise and what is shaking the bed. And that's when I look over and I see the little boy is sitting up on the other side of the bed with his hands holding the cover. And it's him shaking the bed. He's shaking that hard. And that chattering sound I heard was coming from his teeth. He was sitting here holding the covers with his eyes wide open and going, are you okay? Because I thought he was having a seizure. But when I looked at him, his eyes darted over to mine and I realized he was awake. He was so scared. Like, he couldn't move. He was frozen, shaking and chattering. I'm like, well, if he's not having a seizure, what is wrong with him? And that's when it clicks. He's sitting here staring at the door, so I look at the door. Y'all, let me tell you, in that moment, when that lightning flashed, I damn near shit my pants. It scared me so bad. Have you ever been so scared that your hands and arms and legs start tingling, they damn near go numb? When I looked at that bedroom door, there was someone's head peeking around the door like this. And you could only see their eyes. And when the lightning stopped flashing, I couldn't see anything anymore. It was complete darkness. That was when it really hit me. Holy crap, we're not alone. There's someone else in the house and they're standing right there. But what really freaked me out was every time the lightning would strike, I could see more of that person's face. Like it started like this, and then this, and this, and then I could see their actual mouth. This person was smiling ear to ear. I could barely take a breath in. All I could think was, what the hell is that thing? Then, of course, the lightning stopped flashing, so for a few seconds, it was completely dark, and I had that feeling again like someone was watching us and getting closer and closer, and I was starting to panic. And when lightning struck a few seconds later, I could tell they were getting closer because now this motherfucker, person, thing, or whatever, was now at the foot of the bed, peeking over like this, staring at us. At this point, my damn teeth were chattering. All I could hear was between the both of us. So I pulled that little boy up on my lap in my arms as tight as I could because I didn't want whatever it was to try to snatch him out of my arms, and I held him real tight. So now when the lightning flashed, we could see its whole face peeking over the bed, smiling, looking right at us. So that was when fight or flight kicked in for me, and I remember the dad telling me that he had put a loaded pistol in the nightstand and behind the headboard of this bed, so I start reaching around for it. And for some reason, my gut was telling me, you better keep your eyes on this thing. Every time the lightning strikes, pinpoint where it is with your eyes and don't take your eyes off or it's going to jump. Reaching, trying to multitask, keep my eyes on it, hold the little boy, and feel around for this pew-pew, and I finally feel it, and I snatch it out of that holster, and I hold it up. When the lightning struck, I pointed at this thing. I said, if you take another step, I'm going to blow you into the next room. Get out and leave now. In that moment, something happened. I don't know what it was, but I could feel me looking into it and it looking into me, and that lightning flashed, and then all of a sudden the power cut back on. And no lie, as soon as the power came on, it was gone. I snatched him up out of the bed, grabbed that pew-pew, and ran to the kitchen and called 911. I stayed on the phone with them, the police came, and then I called the parents. I put the cop on the phone, they're talking, and then they tell the cop that they're not coming back until Sunday. Even though we're telling them we think there's an intruder in the house and their child's here, they don't give a shit. They're not coming home. They think it's our imagination playing tricks on us because the power went out and we're getting freaked out with the storm and everything. So I made it very clear I was not staying in their house another minute, and I was going to take their child back to my family's house, and that's where we would be. And they said, okay, fine, we'll see you on Sunday. So I asked the little boy if that was the first time he saw this thing, and he said no. He'd been seeing it for months, but this was the first time it got that close. Now, I knew he'd have to go back to that house, so the next day, me and my cousin went over and cleansed the entire house, hoping it would help. One of the scariest things that ever happened. My parents abandoned me in a dumpster. Back in my mid-20s, I was homeless, and me and my friend Stephanie were walking to a truck stop so we could wash off in the bathroom. So her boyfriend picks her up from that store, leaving me there all alone. So hitchhiker tried to rob me, and I snapped. Story time. Well, this day started off really bad because I found out my
Bye,
boyfriend
y'all.
was cheating on